Hey there. Well, I believe it is Wednesday. My days are all mixed up, so, but I think it's May 1st, beginning of the month, which is great. Time is flying. I just wanted to hop on and give a quick that's a lie. It's probably not going to be quick because I know I'm going to talk way too long about this. But I just want to give an update on how training went, how my training went to be a flight attendant, and I know I have lots of family and friends just wondering how things are, so I just wanted to give an update on that, as well as I've had a couple people message me saying that they wanted to be a flight attendant and wanted to know what the whole training looked like, and so I'm going to try to give a rundown the best I can on that, because there's so much to talk about, and I really don't want this to be forever to watch. So let's just jump right in. If you're interested, just keep watching, and I will do my best to talk through everything. Feel free to ask me any questions as well, because I know I'm not going to cover everything. Okay, well, first off, I got home about, I think, 4 days ago now, and I've just been trying to get things back in place. My house is a little bit of a mess, so my luggage is just in the living room, and I'm like, yeah, a lot to put away. So anyways, that's kind of why I've been haven't updated or said anything since being back. And also, I know last video I said I was going to try to keep you guys updated. Figured I wouldn't have time, but I was going to try, and of course I didn't, so I'm so sorry about that. But training was just non-stop busy, and yeah, I didn't find any time to really do anything other than what I needed to do for training. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully this won't be too long, but I left on March 26th, I think I flew out to Utah on March 26th. I got there the night before our training actually started, and I got my room. I met my roommate, and crazy enough, my roommate is actually from over from the Bay Area in California, and which is crazy because that's where I'm originally from. So it was really cool to get to have someone kind of in my same area. Of course, now I live in Phoenix, so it's not my area anymore, but I really did have the best roommate. Britt, if you're watching this, I love you. You are the best. I miss you. But we got really lucky because we could have had 3 people in a room, and we ended up getting a suite that had 2 separate rooms, so we each got our own room as well as our own bathrooms. So we literally just got the best. And then not only that, but we also had a washer and dryer in our suite, which a lot of people didn't have. And so that was amazing because, like I said, we each had our own space, and we had a washer and dryer to do our clothes whenever, and so it just made life that much easier. So I'm so grateful and thankful that we had that set up, and even, like I said, most importantly, that we got each other, because of course I loved everyone in our class, but I just know that everything was set up perfectly for a reason. So anyways, enough about that. So once I got there, the next day we had our first day of training, and as soon as we got to training, we had to do our called PreEntrance Exam, something like that. And so before we even came to training, we got this email with all these things that we needed to study, and so the first day, right when you get in, you take the test right away, and that's how they kind of determine if you're gonna stay. So you need to do good on that test. With all the tests you need for all the written or computer-based exams, you need to get at least an 80% or above with my company. So that was kind of the same throughout the entire training. So for the first test, that one was written, and so we take that exam, and I got 100%, yay. So I was able to stay. But that was just a really crazy day because I think the reality of everything really hit then. We had, I believe, oh, my bad, sorry. I believe we had like 6 people sent home on day 1 due to not passing that test. So, so that was an important test. You will get sent home if you don't pass it. With that, for those who asked me about going into training, the big thing with this test is just study what they give you. Honestly, it was such an easy exam, this first one was, that if you study, there should be no reason why you don't pass it. I feel like a lot of people who didn't, they just didn't come prepared, and they just thought that they could come in and just take it without looking over everything, and that's going to be really hard because these are all terms that are related around aviation and things that if you haven't been in the field, in the industry, you probably won't know. So, so it is important that you study, but that being said, if you do, I think that you will do a great job on that. So anyways, that was basically the first day. We kind of talked through some different expectations and got through what training would look like, and not going to discuss all that, but it's a lot. We got our schedule for the entire training period, the entire 31 days, which is really nice because I am like, I guess when it comes to this, I'm a type A person. I need to see everything, and then that way every single time I can cross that off the list so I know that I'm getting closer. So that was incredibly helpful getting that on the first day. I just felt like I was able to really see the end by having it. So anyways, and I'm not, obviously, because it's going to take way too long, I'm not going to talk about all my training days, but really every single day in and out was just a ton of PowerPoints, especially for the first week and a half or so. You feel like all you're doing in class is learning PowerPoints, and it's a lot of information to take in. You're learning about different aircrafts, you're learning about evacuations, all these safety precautions, and there's just so much. And then not to mention the part that I thought was really, like, I don't know, not strange, but it's just, I think it makes sense, but it also is just funny, is that we have 31 days of training, and we literally only had two and a half days of service. Okay, learning about service. So that's what we do, you know, when we serve you drinks and food and whatnot. So imagine that. Okay, that's 2 days of learning what we do on a very, very normal basis every single day we work, and the rest of the days was learning about, like I said, the aircrafts, and a lot of it was all revolved around safety. And so I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't think about. And being a flight attendant, yeah, you have a really huge responsibility. The flight deck is always going to be locked up front. That sounds weird. Pilots are always going to be in the flight deck, and that means if anything happens while we're in flight, like, they're there to support us, and also to, you know, they know, kind of have the knowledge of what we need to do in situations, but ultimately we are with all the passengers, and we have to kind of be able to handle those situations. So it's a lot of learning passenger handling, and like I said, emergency situations. Obviously, we hope and pray we never have to go through those, and they are very, very rare. But at the same time, you have to be so prepared in those, because just looking over what to do is not going to make you prepared when you are in a very high intensity situation. And so a lot of what we did was evacuations, and we had a whole crash and burn day where we had to watch all of the crashes and kind of analyze what was done and what needed to be done in those situations. And so yeah, it's so much to take in. It's so much more than just serving, and that is such a small part of what training was. And so anyways, so, and then it was also, with that, we had a lot of hands-on, what they call competency checks, which is basically like hands-on testing. So you get to, the instructor will show you how to do something, you get to practice it once and then you have to do it, and you have to do it perfectly. This is not an 80% thing. You have to do it perfectly. And so we had to do so many different evacuations, and you have to say commands word for word. And so it's a lot. But as time goes on, I realized, so like I feel like in the first week we had one test and maybe a couple competency checks, and it felt like, okay, this isn't too bad. Like, I don't know what everyone was saying, like, this is so hard, it's not that bad. And then after that week or so, it just seemed like everything hit. And so then it's like you started to have a test every other day, and you'd have competency checks every day. And then it started to get into where you'd have tests, what it felt like every day, or you'd start to get them where towards the very end we had 2 tests in a day. Like, that's so much. And then also competency checks. So it is a lot. But with that being said, our instructors were absolutely amazing. Our instructors are flight attendants, and they a lot of them have been instructing for quite some time and absolutely love it. And so it's so encouraging to see them, they're with the company for so long and have just absolutely fallen in love with it. And it really reassures kind of this decision I made into choosing this company. So anyways, with all that being said, for those, once again, who are considering doing this and going into training, or who might be going into training, just keep your eyes focused. And you will probably hear that so much, but it is so true. And I had so many people telling me that. My best friend is a flight attendant for a major airline, and she would continuously tell me that, just stay focused. And I totally understand what they mean by that, because it can be so easy that you're with a group of people for 31 days. You start to build relationships with others, which is awesome, and you want to hang out with them, and that's great and all, but you can't let that take over what you're there for. And so make sure, I know we had some people who would be going out with him every night just to even get dinner, and it was just, most of them passed and graduated, so, whatever works for you, but just remember that this is just such a short period of time. Even though 31 days seems like forever, and it did feel like forever sometimes, it is such a short period of time, so stay focused. And I think that's what really helped me, is that I loved all my classmates, and when I had a chance would love to hang out with them, but I was very focused kind of in my own space. And anyone who knows me already knows that I tend to be a quiet person, so that's typically me anyways. But I was just not gonna let anything in my way. My eyes were focused on what I needed to know, and I think that really paid off for me. So that's my advice on that. The other really big thing in training that I don't think I quite expected to this extent is all of the tiny little rules. I am such a rule follower, and once again, if you know me, I am a teacher's daughter. Not that always means anything, but I know what it means to follow the rules. That is an expectation set on me from my parents, but also from my parents being teachers, and this expectation of who I am in the school and whatnot. And so the thought of breaking any rules to me is terrifying. I don't want to go there. I don't want anyone to think that that's something I'm okay with. And so when it came down to all the rules, I was like, I can't mess up. I can't do anything wrong. And I did. I did mess up on one thing. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that real quick, because it can be a really stressful thing. And I was probably about a week and a half in. Now, for those going to any training, there was going to be dress code guidelines set in place. For those that aren't even thinking about training, or just interested about how it was, let me tell you that this dress code is not a typical just work dress code. It's not just business casual and of course be modest or whatever. Like, I have that down. but there's so many specifics, so many, especially with the company that I'm with. And so pretty much it was wearing black all day, which is fine, that's not a big deal, but the very specifics of it, and I can't even talk through all of them, but I'm trying to think of some crazy ones to give you an idea. So one of them, like with your shoes. So your shoes, obviously your inches have to be a certain, that didn't make sense. Your heels have to be a certain, certain inches. And once again, that's easy. The part that's tricky on that one is the bottom of your shoe, the sole or whatever, has to be the same color as the shoe. So a lot of people got in trouble for that because they have a black heel, think it's completely fine, it's all black, but then if you lift your foot up, see on the bottom of the shoe, it's typically like a beige color. And so a lot of people got in trouble for that through our company, which just seems, it does seem a little bit crazy that it has to match when, like, that's the bottom of your foot, you're walking on it, but it does. And it doesn't matter if you agree with the guidelines or not, this is the dress code and it's what you have to follow. So that was one thing. About a week and a half in, I think. Yeah, about a week and a half in. Now mind you, I read through our packet like 5 times, and my husband can attest to that. I read through it so much. I wanted to make sure that everything was perfect, that I didn't have it. Well, I just started, that was weird. I didn't have any chance to mess up. And I thought I had it down. Well, about a week and a half in, they do a full uniform compliance check. So we each have to go out individually and they check us and they check everything to make sure we're good. And she said, I'm going to have to write you up. And literally, as you can imagine, my heart just dropped. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I read everything. I triple checked everything. What am I missing? Well, my belt was not wide enough. It was the right material, the right color. It was not wide enough. So I got written up. And you get, as far as getting written up, you get 3 chances. Only 2 can be the same. So that was a uniform compliance issue. So if I would have gotten another uniform compliance whatever issue or whatever, then I would have been sent home. Now, if I would have gotten, let's say I was late one time and then there was another thing, then I would get 3. Anyways, point is, I was fine getting 1, but a week and a half in, and that just kind of completely shook me. I remember after that day, I went back to the hotel. I texted my best friend and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And I called my husband and my mom, and I'm just like, I'm already preparing myself, saying well, I believe that whatever is meant to be is meant to be. So if I'm not supposed to be doing this, then so what? Then I will get written up again. And I was just in such a space that I was like, this is ridiculous that I got written up for my belt not being wide enough. And it's finally after some time and getting over that, I just really had to understand once again is, like I said earlier, you don't have to agree with the guidelines, but they are there and that is what they expect of you. And then not only that, I wasn't at all purposely trying to wear the wrong belt or anything. I guess I don't know my inches that well. No, and I just misread it, and I was sure that it was wide enough. When I was looking at it, I was sure it was wide enough, but I didn't measure it. So when it comes to that, as crazy as it sounds, measure everything. If it gives you a specific measurement, measure your items before you go and make sure, because they have tape measures and they will pull them out, and that's what'll get you. So anyways, that was the only one I got, but like I said, it shook me pretty good. And after that, I was like, I'm wearing the same thing over and over again. I don't care if my clothes are smelly, which they weren't because I wash them often, but I was just kind of over it at that point. I'm like, I'm not letting anything else happen. So that was kind of the part of training that I don't think I was prepared for. I didn't expect, I know that companies have expectations, and and they're gonna hold you to that. And like I said, I've always been the kind of person that I don't want to break any rules. I will follow everything to a T the best that I can, but that was the one thing that got me, and I don't think I was expecting it to be that specific and that strict. So with that, don't be afraid to ask questions, and make sure you try to ask those questions on the first day. The first day they give you a little bit of grace because it's the first day. After that, there is no grace, not when it comes to that. So if you have any questions, stay afterwards, talk to an instructor, ask them, because they will, some of them maybe not, most of them will try to help you any way that they can with that. But ask them the first day. Don't think, oh, I'm pretty sure this is safe, so I'm just not going to say anything so I can get away with it. Don't do that. Just ask. Okay, so anyways, yes, I'm already 20 minutes in. Sorry, you guys. But that is kind of like the big things of training. What else to talk about? Okay, I guess I'll just talk about the end of training. So, end of training, I'd say the last week was really, really stressful. Well, I don't know. I think it was stressful in the extent that we were all exhausted. We had seen friends of ours go home, and I think it was emotionally draining in that aspect. No, as far as the testing itself, I think that this is so different for everyone. I did really well with the testing. My lowest grade was a 92%, which I'm still really mad about. And I kind of averaged around 98%. And so the testing part of things was not too bad for me. On my final, I missed one question and I got a 99.28%. Once again, irritated with that. But anyways, but my point of all that is not to talk highly about my grades, but just to stress that testing wasn't that bad for me. But I also had friends who it was really hard for them. And I think coming in, you have to know kind of where you're at and how you are with studying. I actually really I get anxiety when I test, testing anxiety, but typically that's tied to if I'm timed, and we're not timed there. So that really helped me. And I think also being that I just came out of college, I got my bachelor's degree and then I went to my master's degree, and I had just come out of working on my master's degree into this training. So I think my mind was already processed to studying, and then these tests were multiple choice. So for me, they were fairly easy. Like I said, for others, we had people in there of all ages, and for some people, it was just trying to figure out again how to study and what works for them. And that is going to be the case. You have to take some time to figure that out. So I would just really recommend before coming that you kind of think about that. Think about your testing style and what works for you. That way you can just be as prepared as possible. But also, I have an accent there. Don't stress out about the testing, okay? They prepare you more than you think. And I think we get in our heads and we allow ourselves to say, oh my goodness, I don't know anything. How am I supposed to do this? But our instructors really do prepare us. And these things that you're hearing, you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm hearing so much information. But they tell you like 3 times. So we have a bunch of different PowerPoints, and in all the PowerPoints, the things that you need to know, you're going to hear about 3 times, and then you're also going to do hands-on and all of that. So you're getting it a lot. So as long as you are paying attention, you're going to do great on it. So that's all on that. And then the last thing that I kind of want to talk about is like I was just saying, the emotional side of things. We were an unusual class from everyone I've talked to, and we had a total of, I believe it was 16 or 17 people get sent home from our class due to either first aid testing, tattoos, but then also testing throughout the period and using up all your retakes. So you do have a couple retakes that you can use. Now, you can't use both retakes on the same test, but you have 2 retakes throughout the entire training time that you can use. Thankfully, I never had to use any, but we had a handful of people that did. And from that, we had a handful of people that unfortunately used both of theirs, and they didn't have any more, and they failed a test, and then they got sent home. So it's very typical for people to get sent home. Typically in a class, you're probably looking at around 4 or 5 people that get sent home. We had like 16 or 17 people. So for us, I think that, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone, but I think that was probably the hardest part, is keeping your mind out of that, because like I said, as far as the educational side of things and learning, I felt like I was doing great. But it was all of those things that were happening, people getting sent home, people getting written up, and you know that they're close to getting sent home. All of these things that just emotionally drained me. I'm like, I knew I was so close, and yet, even though I knew I was doing everything possible to follow the rules, it was like this huge fear inside of me that just one thing, you do just one thing and it would get you sent home. Even if you weren't meaning to, because most people weren't. And but they have to expect this level of near perfection, and none of us are perfect, and so therefore it makes for a really hard environment in that instance. So with that, I just had to take every day one day at a time. I literally I made like this, just on a piece of paper with highlighters, I made like my calendar, 31 days, and every day my roommate and I crossed one off, and I had to look at everything as one day at a time, because let me tell you, the first night that I got there, I was bawling like a baby, which I didn't think I would. I thought I'd be just fine. And I was like, I called my husband, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I don't need to do this. I don't think I can't even be gone right now. How the heck am I supposed to do this for a career? And he just kept encouraging me and was like, it's the first night, you're probably just overwhelmed with everything, it's gonna be okay. And after that, it got better, but it's so different shifting into that. And like I said, so after that first day, I had to look at each day, and it's amazing that when I started doing that, my days just flew by. Before that, I just felt like every day was forever. And you cannot, at least for someone like me, like I cannot be on day 1 and look and say, oh, okay, look, I've just got 30 more days, because that feels like forever. And so I really had to look at it and be like, okay, I have day 1 done. Tomorrow is day 2. I'm just focusing on day 2. And before I knew it, like I said, I had a couple days left, and there I was graduating. So now let's go to graduation. So I graduated, which is exciting, on Friday the 26th, April 26th, and got my wings. It was the fastest graduation ever. Really was. But I was so excited. My mom and husband got to be there, and so we just got to kind of enjoy that time together and then fly home. So that's basically what's been going on the last 31 days. Like I said, there's so much more I could talk about, but that's just kind of a quick rundown, because there was just so much. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who prayed for me, who was watching kind of my journey throughout training, even though I didn't post anything, but who's just been supporting me all along the way. I know to some people this might just seem like another job training, and in some sense it is just job training, but it was extremely intense. And I've gone through job training, and I've gone through month-long job trainings, but nothing like this. So I am so grateful for all your support, everyone who reached out to me and was checking in, seeing how things were going. Even if I didn't get back to it, I'm so sorry if I didn't. But thank you, because truly that meant so much to me. I did read them all, and hopefully I'll get around to answering those back. But thank you so much. So now as far as what's next, I am back home and I am waiting to get my domicile, which is where I will be located or based out of, and then get my IOE, which is my initial operating experience. So that is basically will complete my training, and I'll be flying in the skies with an instructor for that trip, and then after that I'll be on my own. So I will do another video, give you an update as soon as I get my domicile and kind of what my IOE looks like, and maybe I'll even do a little video once I am on my first trip, and then I can show you around a little bit. But let me know if you have any questions. Once again, thank you so much for supporting me and praying for me. It means the world to me. So thanks so much for watching this extremely long video. I love you all, and I will see you next time.